Let's get to the defense. I would bet a substantial amount here that we're going to see, at least to start. We'll see how the preseason shakes out. Maybe they realize in the preseason this doesn't work, but I think the first look for defense will be Ben Chiarot and Moritz Seider on the top pair. And I see Olli Maatta as like the defensive responsible cover for Filip Hronek on the other side. And then I can't believe I'm saying this, but genuinely the third pair of the Detroit Red Wings defense might be the most interesting roster spot of the season, because does Simon Edvinsson beat out the likes of Jordan Oesterle, Jake Wallman? Well, he'll be out to start the season. Pasik's out to start the season. Robert Hagg, whoever else.
God, I forgot about Hagg.
Yeah, and then there's, is it Gustav Lindstrom on the other side?
Steven Kampfer.
Yeah, you obviously, a lot of people will hear those names and you're like, yeah, well, we never heard of Hagg before. We never heard of Kampfer before he got injured. We never heard of Pasik before. That doesn't mean that they're not an NHL caliber pro who could slot in as a 6th or 7th D-man. And does Simon Edvinsson come in on the left is again, the biggest question for me. So I project that he will. I say he does.
How?
I say he does, and I say he plays with Gustav Lindstrom on the third pair.
What does that mean, like, contract-wise, in terms of all the other NHL defensemen the Red Wings have sitting there?
None of them are making enough that their entire contract can't be buried in Grand Rapids.
Oh, I see. Okay.
None of them.
They're all like legitimately the highest earning, scratchable
They would all have
defensemen.
to go through waivers, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Jordan Oesterle makes $1.35 million. Like that's the most substantial earning, and I think 7th defenseman.
And if someone gets claimed, it might solve a couple problems.
They're not getting claimed, right? Like they're just and you know what? If you lose a Steven Kampfer to a waiver claim, okay.
We'll be all right.
You'll probably be able to get him back later.
No emergency podcast.
No, not for that one. Anyhow,
I think it is worth mentioning, though, and we said this last year and it happened, but we're going to say it again this year. Last year we said Lucas Raymond is not getting a spot on this team unless he kicks the damn door down in training camp and preseason. And he did. It wasn't that Lucas Raymond was good leading up to the season. He was unbelievable. Mm-hmm. He gave them absolutely no choice to send him down.
Seider was a given. Raymond was a shock.
Yeah. And Raymond gave them no choice. And that's why he was on the team. That same thing goes for Edvinsson this year.
Yeah.
Because they have Hagg, they have Oesterle, they have Kampfer. These guys, while not superstars, are capable at the NHL level. You can plug them in on the bottom pair, and they are not going to, pardon language, shit the bed every time they step on the ice.
Right.
Edvinsson has to be comfortably better than those guys to risk losing one of those guys in waivers. Even though it's no big deal if they do, the organization's not going to just let a guy walk on the hopes that Simon Edvinsson might play better than he did in preseason. But if Simon Edvinsson's at that point in his development, he leaves them no choice, then yeah, the spot's his. It's as simple as that.
I'm going to disagree on the minutia of this. I agree with you, Brad, that Simon Edvinsson has to earn it. Like, this isn't going to be a given, but I do sense with Simon Edvinsson that the team is going to give him a little bit more leeway and maybe a little bit more leash in terms of not being as dominant as Seider or Raymond was, and still probably earn that spot for a couple reasons. One, they want to rebuild and build out that blue line in a serious, substantial way as soon as possible. And they understand the value of NHL reps for NHL defensemen. Moritz Seider was a phenomenal surprise, even for his biggest fans, even before everyone recognized just how good he was. No one was really expecting a Calder level season from him. Steve Yzerman could think the world of Simon Edvinsson. I don't think he's sitting there saying, yeah, this kid's going to win a Calder just like Moritz Seider before him. So those NHL reps are going to be important, and the sooner that happens, the better for the Red Wings' future. I don't think he has to come in and kick the door down like Lucas Raymond does. I think he has to come in and basically just get close to the other guys around him. Like, Hagg, Oesterle, a healthy Pesek, for example. Those aren't nobodies, but that's as low of a bar as you're going to find in terms of be as good as these NHL players.
If the last year's Red Wings team, the bar was subterranean, this year it's been elevated at least a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, I don't necessarily fully buy into that because Edvinsson, you didn't draft him to be a bottom pair defenseman. And obviously with depth in his rookie year, if he's a bottom pair defenseman, that's still the likely outcome. But that's not the expectation for Simon Edvinsson. If he's not coming in, if he's like, if he looks like a bottom pair defenseman, he's not on this team. Like, that's the reality of it. Even if he is playing less minutes than Chiarot and Maatta ahead of him, but he looks like he can leapfrog them, and he's, or at least in the ballpark as they are this year, giving the Red Wings an above average bottom pair D, they're probably better suited just letting him work out the kinks in Grand Rapids, sliding the year of his ELC. And, you know, I mean, they signed a billion depth defenseman for a reason, right? It's to shelter these guys in situations like this. So, there's obviously value in both sides of this, but yeah, I think it is one of those cases like Raymond. I think it is, he has to look like a star. Even if there's warts in his game, he still has to look like a star, or else it's probably better served for his development to play at a level where he can play like a star.
Does Simon Edvinsson make it? Yes or no, Evan? What do the monkeys in your brain say?
The monkeys say... They say no.
Oh, no.
They say no.
What do you think the third pair is going to be?
Doesn't even matter.
I mean, you're right. If it's not Simon Edvinsson, it literally does not matter. It's going to cycle in and out of...
It'll be different almost every game.
Okay. All right. So I'm sorry, Brad, you were talking about, you know, whether or not, like, how he can make the team. What's your actual prediction for the defense?
I think he makes the team.
Yeah.
I really liked what I saw from Simon Edvinsson last year.
I may change my tune in like 10 days.
Evan Lobsinger changed his tune? No.
I'm a man of my convictions.
They're very changeable.
Yeah.
And very quickly here on the goaltending. Ville Husso coming in, kind of the same situation as Alex Nedeljkovic. You know, not a reclamation project, but a talented goalie from a successful team who the contract wasn't working out there for one reason or another, and they didn't want to pay him, so the Red Wings picked him up. Ville Husso's making a little bit more and is signed for longer. Does that make him the de facto 1A to a 1A, 1B tandem to come into the season, or is it completely up in the air?
Not all. It is 1,000% up in the air. This is the season of ride the guy who is hot at that time.
It's the true, yeah, this is, in my mind, it's going to be decided by them.
This is the season where I could legitimately see the games played ending up at 41-41.
Am I being like a homer by saying I'm just as excited to see what Nedeljkovic does this season as Ville Husso in his first season? Because this is Nedeljkovic with a defense that has a little bit more substance within, to say the least. Like,
you could have said competence. It was fine.
Competence is a better word. Ben Chiarot, you know, doesn't matter what you think about the contract, that is an improvement. Olli Maatta, you know, doesn't matter what you think about the player. If he's a world beater, that's an improvement. And you're talking about whether or not Simon Edvinsson can even crack the third line. To borrow from you, Brad, the bar was subterranean last season, and it is at like Brad's nose height this season. Still not very high, but sorry, I had to get my one in. Mm-hmm. It's the off season, but it's substantially better. So Nedeljkovic has a year of being weathered, to say the least, by playing behind Red Wings defense and an improved defense this year. I think he can come in and surprise a lot of people who are maybe down on him.
Yep, I 100% agree.
If you had to predict who comes out this season playing, you know, let's say it's a 50-30 split in terms of games just by earned.
Husso.
You think Husso?
Yeah, he played better than Nedeljkovic did, albeit on a different team last year. He basically was their number one starter in St. Louis until Binnington took over in the playoffs.
There's no way to know. There's no way to know. It's going to be who has a better preseason.
Yeah.
It's that simple with them. These guys are 50-50. Contracts don't matter. Husso was going into UFA. Nedeljkovic wasn't, so of course his contract was going to be more expensive. 50-50.
It's funny because like it shouldn't be a surprise based on everything Yzerman said in his post free agency presser, but this is the competition we've been talking about. There are true balls in the air. Like Husso and Nedeljkovic, they're going to have to earn their games. You know, it's not that exciting in terms of thinking about a team that's trying to compete for Stanley Cups, but for where the Red Wings are right now, yeah, does Simon Edvinsson beat out those depth guys who can come in and be everyday NHLers, albeit not in massive roles? He is going to have to earn that. You know, Filip Zadina, does he want to move up this lineup? He first has to sign a contract. And does he want to win the long-term trust of this team, which he hasn't earned, and it doesn't seem like he has right now? He's going to have to earn that. Does Jacob Vrana want the opportunity to move up to the first line depending on what happens, or if they need to shake things up? Well, he's going to have to play, and he's going to have to earn that. There's going to be a lot to see here, and there are so few givens on this team. So it's fun to do line projections, but I'm wondering how different and how crazy this conversation is going to sound in like 6 months.
Everything you said is going to be wrong.
Oh, that's good. Normal season then.
Yeah. We're talking about Simon Edvinsson winning AHL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. Victor Brattstrom on the craziest, most unexpected run in NHL history.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. Backflips and somersaults all day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to check out wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find links to other ways to support the show, such as Patreon, official podcast apparel, and more. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. And of course, the hosts at Brad Crisco, at Ryan Hanna WWP, and at Hockey Town Evan.